Are you a fan of the original?
Never seen it.
Welcome to Watch Mojo's Secondhand Cringe. And today, we're counting down our picks for the most unpredictable, chaotic, and wild talk show appearances and other interviews. Number 10. Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford get the giggles. This morning, we don't know if the cast had much chance to goof off on the Blade Runner 2049 set. Perhaps that's why actors Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford had to let it all out during their This Morning interview with Allison Hammond. She barely gets through their intro before the laughter starts rolling. And with a little booze to help things along, this interview derails pretty quickly.
You having a drink?
I think it's, I feel like that's where this is headed.
Number 9. Bromance hilarity. Rotten Tomatoes. Jason Segel and Paul Rudd are arguably some of the greatest comedic minds of their generation. We imagine this interview would have been hilarious no matter what. Before it even has a chance to take off, the guys are already going on tangents, making jokes, and discussing an imaginary friend, Gideon, who isn't afraid to get violent. There's even some acting involved. And why is all this happening, you ask? Well, to borrow a phrase from another of Segel's works, it seems to us that the pair had perhaps enjoyed some sandwiches earlier.
This has gone horribly awry.
Number 8. Sarah Paulson and Cate Blanchett give Hoda Kotb the giggles today. Isn't it great when you can tell co-stars are genuinely friends? It just makes their interviews so much more entertaining to watch. Case in point, when Sarah Paulson and Cate Blanchett stopped by today while promoting Ocean's 8, host Hoda Kotb wasn't the only one left with running mascara by the end. The two are hilarious together, constantly trying to one-up each other and making everyone, including themselves, laugh.
She was nominated for an Academy Award.
Carol.
She did not win.
It's chaotic in the best possible way, but much more fun than if they had taken themselves or their jobs seriously. Number 7. Joan Rivers fires back. CNN Newsroom. The late, great Joan Rivers was famously never one to shy away from sharing her most candid opinions, no matter how brutal. CNN's Frederica Whitfield ends up in the firing line in this interview when she takes shots at her famously savage brand of comedy and digs into her dawning fur on the cover of her book. Rivers is quick to call out the anchor's antagonistic interview style and berates her over her hypocrisy regarding animal welfare. Eventually, she tells her interviewer she's not suited to speak to comedians and abruptly ends the interview.
You are not the one to interview a person who does humor.
Number 6. Don't tell Cara Delevingne she's tired. Good Day, Sacramento. The model and actress appeared on Good Day Sacramento to promote her flick, Paper Towns, but her interviewers don't seem particularly familiar with her wry sense of humor. So, with every wince-inducing question, the conversation steers further and further off course, before ultimately crashing altogether. Delevingne responds to their awkward questions with plenty of charm and grace, although it's clear she's a little thrown by them. Also, just some friendly interviewing 101. Don't tell your guests they seem tired or irritable.
You do seem a bit irritated. Perhaps it's just us.
Yeah, I think it's just you.
Number 5. Bert Reynolds and Mark Summers air out their grievances. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Sometimes, when a talk show has multiple guests on at once, they bring out the best in each other. Other times, it unleashes utter pandemonium, like when Bert Reynolds and Mark Summers shared the spotlight on The Tonight Show. It all starts when Summers takes an irreverent jab at Reynolds' marital status, and that's when the water starts flying. Now, as they might ask on Summers' Nickelodeon show, what would you do next? Well, the team on The Tonight Show decided to take a page from the Nick Show's book and bring out pies. It's chaotic as anything, but not a bad way to resolve conflict. Not to mention, it's pure late-night show gold. Number 4. Ye pulls a Ye. Jimmy Kimmel Live. Over the years, we've become accustomed to hearing Ye's train of thought in a plethora of televised situations. He left Ellen DeGeneres and her audience speechless with his realness monologue, and it didn't take him long to take over Jimmy Kimmel Live either.
If I'm afraid to be me, I'm no longer Ye. That's what makes Ye.
He agreed to appear on the show after settling a years-long beef with the host, but that doesn't stop Kimmel from asking those hard-hitting questions we all wanted answers to. The rapper goes on about his support for then-President Trump, dealing with the fallout of his controversial comments, wanting to live free of judgment, and how essentially, no one's a bigger fan of Ye than Ye. Number 3. Heraldo gets caught in the chaos. Heraldo. The late black civil rights activist Roy Innis debates a group of white supremacists in this episode of Geraldo Rivera's talk show. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. Well, yes, but no one could have predicted just how far it would go after one of the supremacists, John Metzger, uses an offensive term. A fight breaks out. Everything descends into utter mayhem, and even audience members get entangled in the brawl. At one point, someone throws a chair, which hits Rivera. It's hard to make out everything that happens, but ultimately, the host ends up with a broken nose.
Chairs went flying, and one of them broke Geraldo's nose.
Number 2. Joaquin Phoenix's Method Man appearance. Late Show with David Letterman. David Letterman is no stranger to the occasional left field moment or interaction on his talk shows. Jerry Lawler versus Andy Kaufman will forever remain one of late night's most infamous moments. And we'll never forget how Crispin Glover's unhinged act practically prompted the host to rage quit. However, we have to say, when we first saw this Joaquin Phoenix interview, we couldn't believe our eyes and ears.
How is that, the beard?
In what way?
He could barely string sentences together and discussed a pretty wild career change he claimed to be undertaking. It all turned out to be part of a bit for I'm Still Here, his then upcoming mockumentary with Casey Affleck. Number 1. Madonna takes on Letterman and his censors. Late Show with David Letterman. We guess when you've been on the talk show circuit for as long as David Letterman, you're bound to ruffle a few feathers. This was certainly true for Cher, who made her feelings about him abundantly clear. It's also true for Madonna, who seemed to have some friction with the host. Yet amazingly, that's not necessarily what this interview is best remembered for. Rather, it's Madonna's provocativeness, suggestiveness, and how she made the censors sweat.
Oh, man.